of world terror, being bases of Syrians and Soviets, would have brought the Americans to go into Lebanon. I speak now about very limited steps, military steps. And I believe that the United States, France, the Lebanese army, with the assistance of Israel, should regain control over the Shuf Mountains. I myself tried very hard to convince our American friends, and sometimes those discussions were bitter. But they were bitter not because I was the rival of the United States or I was acting against the United States. I acted as a friend of the United States because I wanted to prevent those tragic events that took place later. I suggested, still before the Israeli redeployment of forces, to deploy the Lebanese army and even symbolic multinational forces in the Shuf Mountains in order to prevent the Syrians and the Druze and the PLO terrorists from returning into West Beirut. Second, to deploy UN observers between the new lines, which altogether are the old lines, and the Syrians. Again, I suggested that many times, dozens and dozens of times. I repeated that in this country, at home, that must be done before our withdrawal in order to prevent the Syrians, the terrorists, and the Druze to move and advance back to Beirut. But it was in vain. The multinational force must support the Lebanese army to clean West Beirut from those terrorists that managed to return there behind the barrier of the multinational force. And again, around this subject and issue, there were bitter discussions when myself and the Israeli government warned our American friends not to allow them, the terrorists, to re-establish their headquarters and the troops behind the barrier of the multinational forces. And I would like to repeat one thing. I think that those decisions, if they will be taken, those steps will be taken, may prevent the need to use force. I believe that all those steps can be done with very limited force and maybe without any force at all. And now I would like to say what Jews should do. First of all, I would have suggested to all of us, and myself, I was been asked so many times, what will happen with the Palestinians, what will happen with the West Bank, and what will happen with the Lebanese, and what will happen with the Syrians, and what will happen with the relations with Egypt. Let's ask ourselves one question: what will happen with the Jews? And believe me, that should bother us more than anything else. The future of the Jewish people. And being an old nation of 3,700 years old, with such an heritage, I feel myself as a Jew. And therefore I will allow myself to talk to you frankly about it. I feel myself, and I think about it many times, that as a Jew, I'm responsible for that history and heritage of the Jewish people. That is our responsibility. If Jews have been existing now as people for 3,700 years, we are responsible for the next 3,700 years. Which I believe will be only the beginning of many, many more thousands of years. So first of all, if I'll have to set priorities, the first thing I would say, if people would come to me and say, what should we do? So I would say, first of all, be Jews. The most important thing, be Jews. The first thing, be Jews. And how one can stay a Jew? It starts